Okay, we're going to get started. Good afternoon. Welcome to the April 22nd Milledgeville Rotary meeting. Lynn Chandler is our Rotarian of the day.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today in prayer. Thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on each and every one of us in this community. We ask you to continue to bless each of us in this club. We ask for your guidance and direction. Pray that the leadership of this community and this country will come together and do the right thing. All these things we ask in thy name. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Join me in the four-way test. Thank you. Say it first. Is it true? Second. Is it fair to all concerned? Third. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth. Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Len. Okay, don't forget the blue buckets for Alzheimer's research. We had $10 last week. Do we get a match for the $10? Okay. Greg and Susan, thank you. All right, any prayer requests?
I don't have a prayer request, but I do want to give an update. Talked to Melvin Usry this week, and even though Melvin stepped down for the time being, at least I got a really good report, and they've actually taken her off of dialysis now, so she won't have to be going back on that. So just he said thanks to everybody here for the prayers and all, and hopefully as things progress, we may be able to come back.
Any other announcements?
So I actually just got off the phone with Bert Williams before coming over. His numbers are looking better, progressing in a positive direction. He wanted me to just tell y'all that he misses y'all, and he'll be joining us for a lunch here in the near future.
Excellent. All right, Derek, our Sergeant at Arms.
All right, Sergeant Arms is back and the 50/50 is back. I volunteered to cover this for a couple weeks until he found some volunteers, so I got to get volunteers. First of all, really good to have Susan Allen back with us today. Steve back, and you have a guest with us.
I do. Francis Sparrow, he's Vice President of Academics and Provost of Georgia College.
Good to have you with us.
He's my boss.
And as a guest, I will let you draw the winning ticket out. The ticket's handy. I'll share that. I get the glasses on. To come up for an opportunity to draw a card, and for those of you who some of you are new since we've been doing this, we're reinstituting this. Last three digits: 6, 0, 4. Boom! Oh!
All right.
Yeah. Okay, come on up for the drawing.
So if he picks the Queen of Hearts, he wins the pool.
And the pool right now is $233. Oh. We carried it over from last time. Oh. See, you got to play. You can't ask these questions. You got to play. You got to roll the dice. Let's do it again. No. Jack of diamonds. All right, I'll give you $10. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah, I even was going to use a new deck of cards.
We're down, by the way, we're at 233, and there were 36 cards before today, so we're down 35 cards. So play accordingly.
Okay, Aaron, you want to introduce our guest speaker while I get the PowerPoint going?
So our guest speaker today is William Khoury. He's from the American Camellia Society, and he us at the table got a little quick tidbit about tip about camellia. So he's going to share all that with you guys.
Thank you. Okay. I work for the American Camellia Society. We are a national plant organization dedicated to everything camellia. our headquarters, our national headquarters are actually in Georgia. It's called Massee Lane Gardens. It was just south of Macon. It's a Fort Valley address. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Fort Valley. This is one of our main buildings. This is the Fetterman building. Big one in the middle. Okay. This is our original headquarters building. This is now our administration building. It's still on site. We opened this building in 1968. We've owned the gardens since 1965, but we didn't open it to the public as us till 68 with the completion of this building. Our location was donated by, well, this, I'll take it, we'll get to that in a minute. This is a new structure that we just built, and we haven't even had the ribbon cutting for it yet. This is the Leon and Lois Silver Camellia Educational Center. And we are having displays, educational displays made that are going to be going into this building. And we also, so far we have used it for some different little events during the Festival of Camellias. We had some Camellia educational stuff that some of our other members have put together. Nothing permanent yet. And we had an animal show, wildlife show for the kids in there, and different things like that. This is Dave Strother right here. He is the person who donated Massee Lane Gardens to the American Camellia Society back in 1965. He's one of the founding members of the American Camellia Society, which, by the way, was founded in 1945 in Macon, Georgia. This is just one of our gates. It's got camellia flower on it. The gardens originally was 9 acres of formal gardens. The property itself is 160 acres. We've now expanded the gardens. We have a lot of different gardens now. We also have the world's largest collection of Edward Marshall bead porcelain on site. We have pieces there that you won't see anywhere else. This one is the ivory-built woodpecker piece. There's only 4 in existence. It stands about 4 feet tall. There's only 2 on public display, ours and the one at Bellingrath Gardens in Mobile. The California Condor. This is a life-size California Condor. The piece weighs 250 pounds. The real condor doesn't weigh anywhere near that. This was created by the Beaton Studios as a fundraiser for the California Condor breeding project at the San Diego Zoo. They only managed to create 2 of these. The San Diego Zoo has one. We have the other one. The one at San Diego Zoo is in their board of directors meeting room, and it's right behind the executive director's chair in a special case. So it's kind of we kind of joke around that it's kind of an imposing thing there. Eagle Freedom 1, there's one of 14. This is number 3 in the selection in that series. Number 1 is in the White House. This is our Smith greenhouse. It's a landscaped greenhouse. It houses a lot of camellias and a few other accent plants. The reason for this greenhouse, most camellias are fine outside. The reason for this greenhouse is it gives us blooms in case we have hard freeze, something that the visitors can see in the wintertime. So we always have blooms. Now we do have a few tropical camellias that are housed in there that won't go outside, but the majority of them will. This is a reticulata. They're very large blooms. It's one of the many species of camellia. Some of the most famous camellias are reticulatas. There's one in particular is the #1 show camellia in the whole world, really, right now. It's called Frank Hauser. It was a Macon cultivar. And it wins shows all over the place. It's huge in Australia and New Zealand, and it's taking over Europe. And China is really quite fond of it. This is one of the more tropical camellias. This is a yellow flowered one. Most of the yellows are tropical in nature and will grow outside. This is a hybrid called Kino Gozen from Japan. This is a wild species from Vietnam called Nidabissima. It's one of the most yellow camellias. The blooms on these are actually quite small. And this is another species camellia. This one's from China. This is called Camellia Azalea. Even though it's not azalea, it has nothing to do with azaleas, other than somebody thought it looked like one. Anyway, what's unique about this one is it blooms at a different time of year than the rest of the camellias. It's a summer bloomer. And so it's been being used to be bred with other camellias to make landscape camellias that can bloom at different times of year, kind of like the encore azaleas do. Now, the most common camellias that you see around here are Camellia japonicus. That's the one that everybody grows. Your grandmother had one. They're very popular. Another species that's real common is Camellia sasanqua, and most people just refer to them as sasanquas, and a lot of the real Camellia aficionados don't even consider them really camellias, even though they are in the same genus, and they will hybridize readily with them, with japonicus. There's about 350 species of camellias now. They keep discovering new ones all the time. One of the most common, but least known camellias is Camellia sinensis, the common tea plant, which is what a lot of us are drinking here today. And I was mentioning we have a lot of other gardens. We have a native plant garden. It's a 2.5 acre garden dedicated to nothing but plants native to the southeastern U.S. In the background right there is an educational pavilion we had built. It actually sits on the edge of a pond, a 2.5 acre pond. And all the plants in this area are native plants. So we don't have any camellias in this area. Here's another view this is New England aster in the foreground, but that's another view of the pavilion with some of the big rocks and stuff we have in the garden. And this is around the edge of the pond. This is one of our native irises. This is southern blue flag, Iris virginiana. Sorry. We also have trilliums, and there are various native orchids in this garden. This is a grass pink orchid growing among some of our native carnivorous plants. In this case, hooded pitcher plants and threadleaf sundews. We also have daylilies. We have something year round. Massee Lane Gardens has stuff year round. We also have a tropical garden, which is actually our children's garden, and the plants aren't really tropical. They just have sort of a tropical feel. You'll see that there's bananas and hibiscus and crinum lilies and stuff like that. It's very colorful in the summertime. We also have things like voodoo lilies on the property. This is also in the children's garden. These are very popular with the kids. They stink, so the kids love them. Bananas. And yeah, sometimes we do get fruit off of them. And then we also have the Japanese garden. This is one of our more famous gardens. It sits directly behind the formal gardens. We opened it in the 80s. It does have camellias in it because camellias do come from Japan and China and all over Southeast Asia. You'll notice that there's a little meditation house. All the features are traditional Japanese features in this garden. We actually had it specially designed, and a landscape architect from New York come down, not New York, Atlanta come down and design this one. And I did recently give a tour to a Japanese gentleman who said that this was the most authentic Japanese garden he's seen in the U.S. There's another view of the Japanese garden. And it's just a saucer magnolia, also in the Japanese garden. We have a rose garden. The roses we house in this garden, we went with roses that required the least amount of care. But we did want to include stuff like knockout roses. We left those out intentionally. But the ones in the foreground here, the pink ones, that is a variety called Carefree Beauty. Never needs sprayed. Blooms profusely all summer long. Very large pink flowers. Unfortunately, it doesn't have much of a fragrance. This is a Floribunda. This is a particular one that is Sun Sprite. It's a nice yellow. Also doesn't require a lot of spraying. This is a species rose from China. China is a Rosa mutabilis, a Chinese butterfly rose. It changes colors, which is kind of neat. It starts out sort of yellow and then changes to pink and then to sort of a magenta color. We do things like give tours to kids. We have different groups. We sometimes get Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts out there. We get all sorts of youth groups, really. I forget which group this was. And we give them tours and we talk about stuff and allow them to interact with some of the things. Like this is our carnivorous plant display right here, and we let kids play with the Venus flytraps and stuff like that. So we also do some research at Massee Land Gardens. This particular picture is of a trial garden that we built specifically to test different Camellia cultivars for sun tolerance, because traditionally they're thought of as a shade plant, and the majority of them do very well in the shade. But what we found is that there are quite a few of them that will tolerate full sun, and some of them that even prefer it. And of course, there are some that just won't grow in full sun no matter what you do. So, but this is what this trial was about, and it's been going on for a few years now, and it's been very interesting to see what happened with them. So far, what we found is that the best one for full sun is a Japonica cultivar called Royal Velvet. It seems to prefer the full sun. It grows faster and fuller and blooms more in full sun than it ever does in the shade. And then we get volunteers. We have volunteer days, and we do have a lot of volunteers that come, which is always fun. And we let them do different jobs and stuff around the gardens. But we do allow volunteers to come as they want. We get volunteers almost every week. Not a lot at one time, usually 2 or 3. But then on the volunteer days, we can have as many as 50. We are a nonprofit, so we'll take any free help we can get. In this case, they're just planting annuals right now. And then we have workshops where we do educational things, where we teach people stuff. This is camellia grafting. We teach how to care for camellias. We teach how to propagate camellias. In this case, it's just propagation. Even how to show camellias if you want to be interested in camellia shows, which is what's going on here. They're showing how to prep blooms for shows right here. And we do other things. We actually were the host of the Southeastern Citrus Expo at one point, which is just a sort of trade show kind of thing, as a bunch of citrus people get together and they have like this annual meeting every year in November. And part of it is they like to have a little citrus competition. And this is a picture of the competition right here. But we hosted them, and they came in and we let them set up their citrus display there, and it was pretty neat and really interesting. And we had judges come through and judge them. And yes, you can grow citrus in Georgia. We have a number of them on the property. That's part of the reason they came, was to view the trees that we have on the property. We also have events like this, which was a Japanese tea ceremony, which was part of a bigger event where we helped launch the First Lady series of camellias that was being done by, well, it was Sandra Deal who got it started. And then, of course, Rosalind Carter jumped on board, and a few of the other Georgia First Ladies. And there's a whole series of camellias now named after our different First Ladies of Georgia. And so we had this big event there, the Japanese tea ceremony. And we actually released the Rosalind Carter camellia at that particular event. She was supposed to be there, but then she bailed on us to go to the Super Bowl. So this is also part of that event. This is some Japanese drummers we had performing in our courtyard, and they put on a really pretty good show. It was very interesting. And this is from inside this new Silver building. This is our wildlife show that we had for the kids. It was put on by the Museum of Arts and Sciences in Macon. They came in and let the kids see a lot of different animals that they weren't really too interested in touching any of them, which I thought was funny. So, and we also did demonstrations in there like waxing camellias. That's also in the new Silver building. And we let individuals come in and wax their own camellias. They could actually either select some that we already had pre-picked, or we let them pick a few out in the gardens and wax them. And something that they seem to like. Okay. Well, I was going to show you some other stuff. We are physically located 6 miles south of Fort Valley. And I have some stuff to give out if you guys want. Yeah, you can pass them out. We also put out, we put out 5 publications a year. We put out a quarterly journal, which is this right here. And it's full color. And in this case, this one's got the Silver building on front, but we have lots of articles about camellias and stuff in here. We do a little bit of history. We'll have articles on the history of the Camellia Society. Last year was actually our, I want to say it was our 50th anniversary. But anyway, we have all the original, this article here is about the original founding members of the Camellia Society. And just different things that y'all want to, I'll let y'all look at some of these. We might have more in here. Pass them around. Of course, you can always get more information on our website, AmericanCamellias.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page and get some more information. I don't know if I have enough of these to go to every table, but We also have a yearbook once a year. And this is basically what that looks like. And these will have articles in here. This are a little bit more scientific in nature. They talk about a lot of the research and breeding programs and stuff like that. And there'll also be things like talk about different gardens and stuff. And this one also, in the yearbook, we also publish all the new cultivars that were registered that year. And for about 10 years, I was the official registrar of new cultivars for the ACS, but I passed the torch now, so that's a lot of work. Other things we put out little brochures at Camellia diseases and Camellia insects. And these are for help people learn a little bit about some of the things that they might encounter with camellias, some of the diseases that they'll come across and how to treat them, and different things like that. And same with the insect one. So, yeah, those are kind of helpful. And we also put out this little book. It's just a Camellia culture book. It's just a little tiny handbook. It's the illustrations that are just hand drawn in there, but gives a lot of good information. And actually, this and these, if you join us and become a member of the American Camellia Society, these will come in your package that you get when you first sign up, and you'll get these automatically. One thing you might not know, who has heard of the Reciprocal garden program that the American Horticultural Society runs? Basically, this is a neat program. We're members, and anybody who's any garden that's a member is going to be on this list. This is their list, and we all participate in this. What we do is, if you sign up with us, you can use our membership card to get into like the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, but without having to pay, and everybody knows how expensive they are now. And this is like 250 gardens across the country that this works for. So it's really, if you like visiting botanical gardens, this is a neat feature. I use it all the time. I even went to one, and we even have, there's one on Grand Cayman. So I got to use it down there, which was kind of neat, because it's a completely different type of botanical garden down there, because it's all tropical. So that was kind of neat. Okay, well, does anybody have any questions?
What is chameleon waxing?
That's just where you take a camellia bloom and you dip it in melted wax, and it coats it, and it kind of preserves it for a while. It's just something that something they used to do to preserve them, and usually you can get 4 to 5 days out of them. I've seen some that have lasted a couple of weeks that way, and they just dip them in paraffin wax, and it has to be the right temperature so it doesn't burn the bloom. And then you just dip it in there, and then it just seals it up, and it's just kind of a neat thing to do.
Is Lane, is it part of the Lane family, that the Lane family?
No, it's not.
Right over.
It's
I just know it's in that same area. So.
yeah, it is. I know, and we get that a lot, but no. It's not officially associated with them. I think through marriage, the Massee family through marriage is distantly related to those lanes, but they're not directly related to them. And the Massee Lane Road we're named after the road that runs in front of the gardens. It's Massee Lane Road. And So that's, somehow that's ended up that way. I don't know. Any other questions?
You don't have any like plant sales or anything?
We do. Actually, we try to sell plants year round at the gardens. And every once in a while, we will have a plant sale to reduce inventory and stuff. So, because we're not officially a garden center, we're the botanical gardens, but we do carry plants because people come there and they want to buy what they see. And so, well, we started selling plants so that they could do that. Mostly we sell just camellias, but this year we decided to branch out and do some other stuff. So we're selling some of the companion plants for camellias and things like that, mainly because we've been getting asked about it. So we're just trying to expand a little bit on that. We also have a nice gift shop full of all kinds of stuff at the gardens. So, and we sell tea. We're actually working on getting a signature flavor for the gardens. I don't know if you're familiar with Barone Tea. It's a tea company out of Macon. They were working with us to get us a signature flavor. And so.
Are the gardens open 7 days a week?
6 days a week. We're only closed on Monday. And that's usually to clean up after the weekend. So.
What about accessibility for handicaps? For seniors?
Well, it's an old garden and it was not originally set up that way, but we've been working to put in different handicap accessible stuff. Like we just recently built a handicap ramp to our Stevens Taylor Gallery, which is one of our porcelain galleries. And we've been putting in walkways that are more accessible. We also have a golf cart that we can take people around on too. I mean, we can work it out any way we have to. So.
My parents had a new bush in the front yard that was multicolored.
Right.
It was like it was almost a white, and then it had a kind of a light pink, and then a red, almost a red. Dark pink, what you call it.
Yeah.
It was supposedly, and I came from my father's family, and was, they said it was a 100-year-old bush.
Right.
And they dug up, is that a type of tomato, or was it grafted at some point?
Well, it's hard to say because I haven't seen the plant, but it can be a particular cultivar that does that. Excuse me. There are some camellias that have a trait called a jumping gene in there that causes some branches to be one color and others to be different, another color. Things like Lady Van Sitter, which is a cultivar that does it very commonly. There's like 6 different variations that can show up on a single bush. Betty Sheffield's another one that does that. There's a bunch of different ones that will do that. And others are very stable. But it was also a common practice back in the day to graft different cultivars onto different branches, which also gives you a similar effect. It's not real common now, but I mean, it used to be. So it could be. I'd have to see the plant to know for sure.
If it was grafted back then, dig up a sheet and has those colors with that.
Well, that sounds to me like it's probably one of the cultivars that has the jumping gene. Yeah, because the graft would only affect the part that was the original plant. So. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? All right. All right. Thank you.
Speaker here. Any other announcements before we wrap it up? Okay. We are adjourned.